Hey, what's up, guys? This is Two Nerd Sportscast. I'm Lee.
And I'm Joel, and let's get into it.
Yeah. There wasn't too much that happened in the NFL this week. I mean, there was definitely some big things that happened, but no like big storylines and stuff like that. So we're just gonna quickly recap basically what happened this past week. With first off, Bengals releasing Giovanni Bernard, and then like literally only I think it was like a couple of days later he signs with the Bucks. Um,
Quick turnaround.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was. And good for Giovanni Bernard, honestly. Sucks for the Bengals. Um, I
He's
don't know
gonna
what
go
I'm.
get himself a ring.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
Bruce
like.
Arians said, he recruited him personally. I mean, Bruce Arians is recruiting third string running backs at this point because that's all Bernard's gonna be with Tampa Bay, right behind Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. So, not sure why he would have went there unless he was trying to get the ring, which he very well might get, as we've discussed before.
Yeah, no, they are I do really think it was probably Arians wanting a little bit more depth at that position. Because Leonard Fournette he was injured for most of the year last year, right?
On and off, yeah. He's
Yeah,
been like
yeah.
that his whole career.
I
So
mean, yeah. So like just more assurance, in case Fournette does get injured again. You still have two good running backs. So yeah, I mean it was amazing for Bernard, solid for the Bucks, but honestly, yeah, Bengals. What are you doing, man? You ain't keeping anybody. But moving on to AJ Boye to the Panthers. So, I know we have said previously in our previous episodes that we are both pretty sus of the Panthers this season. This was good. This this
yeah,
this this was finally a bright spot for uh, the Bengals
the
in their
Panthers.
offseason or Bengals. I read the Panthers. Yeah, bright spot for the Panthers this offseason.
Yeah,
Sorry, I read
two
the
two nice headline moves in a row there with Sam Darnold last week and then AJ Boye this week. They're they're saving their offseason slowly but surely.
yeah.
Started off slow, but they're finishing well. So
Yeah, they are definitely finishing. It looks like they're trying to finish strong at least. Which I mean, hey, that's what matters, right? Not getting to the finish line,
obviously.
but yeah. So the Panthers looking a little less sus. Hopefully they continue that trend. Oh, I have nothing against them. But moving on, lastly to or not lastly, but to Anthony Miller. He hits the trade block.
I don't know what the Bears are doing. He's young and promising wide receiver. They might be about to lose, even if they get to keep Allen Robinson for one more season under the franchise tag. He's gone next season.
One
They can't
hundred
do it
percent.
again.
Yeah, no way.
So why would you trade what your likely replacement for your number one wide receiver is an Anthony Miller with how well he's been developing? Unless
No,
he's upset,
yeah. I
but
mean,
that's
he,
bad
he
too. So
yeah, he has been developing really nicely. I mean, I know there's still a couple of things, but he's still young. He still has a lot to learn. Like, yeah, he's dropped quite a few passes last season, but like he's also come up clutch for the Bears. So I personally really like Anthony Miller. Now, there was a very interesting trade that I saw, and I kind of snagged it and added on to it a little bit. Uh, where I like what I think should happen with Anthony Miller is I think the Ravens should trade for him using Orlando Brown Jr. So what you can do is you have OBJ, you trade him to the Bears for to swap your first round picks. So the Ravens take the 20th, the Bears take the 27th, and then you swap players, and then the Bears give you like their second or their third, something like that. And that's a pretty solid trade to me. Anthony Miller's contract is less than OBJ's, so the Ravens don't have to worry about that, especially with like we talked about before with the whole Earl Thomas situation, possibly having to pay him 5 to 10 million. So won't have to worry about paying somebody more than OBJ. And especially if they sign Schwartz, like I have also said previously, then you have the luxury of trading OBJ and getting this value for him.
No, that would be a good trade for the Ravens. They would finally have some talent in their wide receiver room with Watkins and Anthony Miller. Um,
Yeah, I mean, and I mean
so
also Duvernay. You also got obviously Hollywood Brown.
yeah,
Mark Andrews is a very good tight end. Like they've
all of a
got some
sudden,
weapons, and just adding a nice other second option that can maybe. So right now it looks like the Ravens have like two people that can possibly be wide receiver ones, and then if you add in Anthony Miller, another person that can possibly be a wide receiver one, like
you filled out the room. Now
yeah.
wide receiver all of a sudden isn't even in need. You might could get away on draft day without even drafting one, and that frees them up to shore up their other positions. They're going to need a right tackle if they don't get Mitchell Schwartz likely once, and they're going
I
to
mean,
need.
probably still want to beef up that right side, to be honest. Even
Oh
if it's
yeah,
not like the
no,
first round.
yeah, for sure. And then you're going to need an edge rusher. You're going to need a safety. That's your first 3 rounds. Right now they have four positions where they need to draft somebody in the first 3 rounds, and they only got 3 picks there. So they got to find something else.
Exactly. And on top of that, I mean, we're not talking about safeties today, but I mean, Mulrig is the best safety, right? Like we can agree on that, and
Yeah,
they could probably snag him at 20.
in all likelihood, he might be gone, but
He no
you
no no
definitely got a better
he could be
chance.
gone at 20, but then you also have all those edge rushers to pick from, or
We're gonna get into,
the
yeah.
offensive lineman. But yeah, which we will get into edge rushers later, actually today. But yeah, I think that would be a very good trade. Do you have any other trade ideas for Anthony Miller?
I have one that you're probably not gonna like,
Uh oh.
but would make a lot of sense for both sides. Would be
Okay.
the Chiefs. They need to add another wide receiver now. Chiefs love getting headline talent. They could probably send their second right now and probably snag Anthony Miller. And it's not going to surprise me if they draft a wide receiver early in the draft, just because that's what they do. They grab weapons,
No, yeah.
and they need to replace Sammy Watkins. So why not go get in Anthony Miller?
No,
It would be
that
a very Andy Reid-esque thing to do, especially since they were already in pursuit of those big name wide receivers like Juju earlier in the offseason. He didn't get any of those guys. Another one hits the market on the trade block. Why not go get him? And he'll still be on a rookie deal, so still be super cheap for their next few contending years.
no, yeah. Well, I don't want to say I hate the Chiefs, but I strongly dislike the personalities on the Chiefs, which is a reason why I've come to not like them. But also, I mean, I can't disagree that that wouldn't be a good spot for both. Like that would be a good trade for both parties. Yes, 100%. Because the Bears are definitely in some kind of rebuild phase, or they're doing something, and I don't. I guess we're just gonna have to find out what they do in the draft or what they do later on in free agency to actually figure out what they're doing with everything. Um, but talking about predictions and stuff like that, let's quickly just recap a couple of predictions, and then we're gonna get into our last thing, and we're gonna head straight on into the draft analysis. So two people that we have predicted so far have signed this past week in James Conner and Jadeveon Clowney. Now Conner, we both got wrong. I believe I picked the Broncos
I picked Philadelphia,
and then
and
yeah, picked the Eagles.
we both whiffed. I mean, there's only a 1
Yeah.
in 32 chance, so that we get it right.
I
So,
mean, use also good judgments to narrow
yeah.
down the list. But yeah, no, the Cardinals definitely also needed a running back, and they got a decent one. Makes it so they don't have to draft in the first. They don't have to draft a running back in the first round. I mean, hey, I get it. Yeah. So I think that was a solid deal for both parties. And then Jadeveon Clowney, we were actually both right with going to the Cleveland Browns. Now, I've been seeing a lot of Jadeveon Clowney hate on Twitter, and I just want to say that no, he has not lived up to the first overall pick potential. I will 100% agree with you on that one. But he is still a solid pass rusher. Solid, especially when he has a buddy on the other side that can actually help him and is better than him and can elevate his game so that he doesn't have to be double teamed. Because he's not good at dealing with double teams. No. But he's
Get shut
solid.
down.
But he's solid. He can beat one on one matchups. I don't want to say all the time, but like a good portion of the time he
Consistently
can beat
enough.
one on ones.
Oh yeah. No, this is an excellent pickup for the Browns. They only got him on a 1 year deal, so if he's trash, he's trash. You throw him to the side again. I mean,
Exactly, exactly. And it's only, I mean, I say only like 8 million, still a good bit for a pass rusher, but again, when you have probably the best second option in the league,
pretty worth it.
yeah,
Pretty worth it. They're gonna have a pretty fearsome pass rushing tandem. So Joe Burrow might have to have another knee injury. Looks that
yeah,
way.
yeah. No, since Bengals, hey, guess what? Protect him. Protect him even more now. Like spend your first three picks on offensive linemen. Like,
Go get Sewell. You can have Sewell.
no, yeah, yeah.
Easy.
Get Sewell. Just do it. I understand Jamar Chase is flashy, but you need to protect your quarterback, especially from these defenses. You've got the Steelers defense, which is probably still going to be very, very good. You've got the Ravens defense, which is probably still going to be very, very good. And now you've got the Browns defense with all of these upgrades they've done. Yeah, AFC North looking like a real defensive heavy division right now. But so yeah, so that's going to be all of our predictions that we've done so far of people who have signed. We're still waiting on quite a few people. They'll probably sign after the draft, to be honest. But we shall see. Moving on to our last kind of like storyline kind of thing that happened this week is Julian Edelman retired.
Will
He
we
was
see him in
apparently
Tampa?
yeah. I saw this really funny Tom Grossi video, which by the way, hilarious. Go check him out if you haven't. I mean, if you're watching us, I don't know why you haven't seen Tom Grossi, but hilarious video of Tom Brady's reaction to Julian Edelman retiring. Basically calls up Edelman and it's just all like, "Hey, come to Tampa." Like that's the long and short, and it's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be really funny, and I mean, hey, it would replace AB if AB leaves, so
It would be fun. It'd be
yeah.
fun to see.
But Edelman did say Foxborough forever, so I don't think he will, but I also think he might. But I mean, I think he had a very good career. I think he was definitely an integral part to that Patriots dynasty in the 2010s. Like he really came on in what, like 2014?
Yeah, right around then, right after Wes Welker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh
he effectively replaced Wes Welker and turned out to be 1,000 times better than Wes Welker. So we don't have Wes Welker in the Hall of Fame conversation yet. Julian Edelman managed to enter his way into that, a converted quarterback. I mean, he's super cool guy, super cool player. Just go watch some Julian Edelman highlights and you'll get fired up, especially for the little guys.
no, yeah. I mean, he's a very uh, uh, flashy player. He was very fun to watch. I mean, great guy too. Like he was one of the only like really, in my personal opinion, kind of shining bright spots for the Patriots in terms of like morality. Not trying to be too
Morality,
mean, but huh?
even with his PED scare.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like he was very religious. Like he, like I mean, using PEDs, okay, what like I mean, everybody does that, right? Like literally everyone has in the most everyone in the league has probably used PEDs. Let's be honest. But I'm saying like he was always a very good character, and he always stemmed from that, and he always won. Like I mean, I had been seeing like posts and like things that he had been saying about just like people in general and just forgiving people and just being a nice person overall. So I just thought that like he was really cool. He was real nice, fun to watch, great player. Obviously, yeah, he was basically only a playoff guy, but I mean, hey, that was basically the Patriots. I mean, except for like 2 years where they actually took the regular season seriously. That's basically the Patriots.
More or less. And
And
that's
and
okay. That's the only time of the year that really matters, anyways.
yeah,
So you
yeah,
show up
exactly.
there, it's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, that is going to be all for that. Let's just jump right in to this draft talk because it's gonna be crazy. So we talking about defensive ends and linebackers today. Now, between the defensive ends and linebackers, there may be a couple of people that you might disagree where they fall, but it's dependent on like how they lined up, the 3-4 versus the 4-3 schemes, stuff like that. In our personal opinion, on where they most likely fit, there is one person here that I will say right now that I do think he will line up better as a linebacker than a defensive end. But I'll get into that later and why we put him as defensive end here. But let's kick things off with Jason Oway.
Alrighty. So Jason Away is a very developmental guy to me. He's not all there compared to some of these other guys in this class. There's a lot more guys that are better than him to me. Um, I honestly don't think he should have even come out this year. I think he should have spent another year in college developing, and I think he's still going to manage to get to go in the first or the second round. But I think one more year of solid tape, he solidifies himself as a top prospect, top defensive end prospect, top 15 type player. Keeps on growing, but he went ahead and came out. That's his decision. So as far as positives for him, great size and length, and the main reason I do think that he should have waited is because he lacked production last year. Almost no
That's right.
sacks
That's right. Yeah.
recently, and for an edge rusher, you kind of want to see that in college. You want to see them. Sacks are not the only stat that matters, obviously,
But you want to see them get to
but
the quarterback.
that's what you want to see out of your edge rusher, especially in college, because it's going to be exponentially harder when you get to the NFL. And if you're not
Cool.
doing it in the college level, why should I believe that you're going to do it on an NFL scale? So uh, he needs to fill out more into his frame as well. He needs to gain some weight. He's a little lean for my liking. But as far as play style, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Jadeveon Clowney, who we talked about earlier. Reminds me a
Okay.
lot of him
Yeah.
when I watch him play. And I do think he's always going to need a running mate on the other side.
That's fair.
So as far as landing spots for him, I've heard some rumors about Tennessee being interested in him, and I really do think that would be a pretty decent landing spot for him in the first. They need some edge rushing, some defensive talent urgently. And then if he does fall a little bit further than that, the Jets could take him with their second first round pick or their second round pick.
No fair. Where do you got him ranked?
Oh, I have him in B,
B.
solidly in B.
Cool. 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 I have him in A personally. There are definitely going to be some people in front of him in A. I personally think that both these edge rushers and the linebacker class are super solid this year. There's some really great talent to be had in the defensive end and linebackers in this class, in my opinion. Now, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think he should have stayed a year, but I'm fairly certain that he's going to go in the first round. Probably that later first round between like the Titans and the Ravens. Like I think he falls somewhere in there. Like the Titans, I mean, I guess the Browns not anymore. They just got Jadeveon Clowney actually. So basically, like the Titans, the Ravens. Who else is picking in that range? I can't think
Titans,
right now.
Ravens, Jets.
Jets. Yeah, Jets just need a lot of pieces. Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of places where he could go. And I think he's really good. I think he is very, very, very athletic. I mean, he ran a 4:36:40. You know, being
That's
257 pounds, that's not super easy. Like
that's
that's
pretty
pretty
blazing.
fast, huh?
Pretty blazing. He's
Yeah,
got
yeah,
blazing speed for an edge rusher. I would
yeah.
not
And
want to be
I
a quarterback seeing him come around the edge. You're gonna blink and
no,
he's on you.
no. And I like that he plays both sides really well. At least from what I saw on tape, he did very well at doing both sides, which is nice to see. He is definitely developmental. He needs that development. But teams like the Titans, who do have a good defense normally, and like the Ravens, both can develop these developmental guys very easily. So I think those spots would be a very good place. Or the Jets, honestly, with Robert Saleh, I'm sure he knows how to develop defensive talent. So yeah, I think those are all really good spots for him. But moving on to somebody who I'm even personally a lot more, let's say, hyped for in Jalen Phillips. So I know that he got that injury and he was out, and there was questions of him even returning ever, period, ever. But he got a second chance in Miami, and Gregor Rousseau decided to sit out this year, and so he came in, filled in. And I personally think he did a very, very good job filling in for Gregory Rousseau. I personally have him in the top of my A tier. There we go. There's a couple things I just wanted to say real quick. He ran a 4:56:40 at 260 pounds, which even that still isn't the easiest thing to do. I mean, I know it's a little bit more average, but it's still faster than average. Running an under 460 as a defensive end, it's
It's
pretty
pretty good.
nice. Yeah. Um, and then he just has so many tools in his disposal. Now I watched this video by Brett Coleman talking about Jalen Phillips, and I just wanted to say this one thing that I learned in that video. Now, go watch his video. He's able to explain it a lot more better than I can, and he's also showing tape and all of that, so you'll get a way better understanding for it than what I can say here. But one example of him utilizing so many weapons at his disposal and learning was when he was up against McFadden at Clemson. He struggled in the beginning of the game, but later on he adapted and started actually winning that matchup against McFadden, which is great to see in somebody that they can literally learn within the same game how to beat someone. That's nice, and he makes smart, quick decisions. I love it. I really like Jalen Phillips. I'm really high on him. If he didn't have that injury and didn't get out, I'd probably put him in S.
I would have him in S2 if those retirement and concussion issues were not there. So I have to.
Exactly.
I'm dropping him. I know you're probably going to hate this, but I have him in B tier, above Owe.
Okay. Okay.
So
I mean,
concussions, as a person that's had multiple concussions, they're difficult to get over. My most recent concussion that I had from a car accident took me 6, 8 months to get over it. It it's hard. It's hard
well,
for players to get over concussions, and the fact that he was already forced into retirement once gives me no confidence that he'll be able to have a long career. I don't want my first round or second round pick to be done in 3 years, or maybe not even to have a career. Now, his potential is so good that if someone were to pick him in the second round, I wouldn't hate on them.
I mean, I think he
But
goes in the
me,
first.
he might. I would hate on that as an analyst. Because you don't want your first round pick to only play for a couple of years. And that's always going to be a risk for him. His career guaranteed is going to be shorter than these other guys. It's he already had to retire once. But getting into his actual stuff, as far as positives for him, I love his potential. He has excellent cross scheme edge rushing potential. He can stand up, he can go down, so he can go 4-3-3-4. So any team should be looking at him. Uh, he does struggle with some redirect blocks, struggles reading misdirection at times. So that's a little bit of a scary thing for me. And he does need some better hand work, but he's very long as an edge rusher. And there's not a whole lot of offensive tackles that are going to be longer than him. You do have the occasional freak guys, like Tyrone Smiths and stuff, where their arms are, the length of my living room. But he's going to be longer than most guys, and he's able to get by without superior hand work. As far as a comparison for him, he reminds me a lot of Montez Sweat for Washington. Plays a lot like him. And for landing spots, I think he could go on the first. He could go on the second. I wish he would go on the third. That's where I think he should go. That's where he deserves to go because of that fear. But he's going to go on the first or the second. Great landing spots for him would be both Baltimore and the Buffalo Bills.
No, yeah, yeah. I mean, Baltimore or the Bills, that would be scary, honestly, in my opinion. But I I I have a little bit of a conflict with you saying that he deserves to go in the third round. I see the second, but there's no way somebody doesn't take a chance on him in the second round. There's no way.
No, I told you. I think he will go by the second round. But me
But so he doesn't
personally,
deserve to go in the third.
as a GM, would not even think about touching him until my third round pick.
Okay. I mean, I'm not gonna make this about the previous show. We're gonna continue on, but okay,
I
okay.
know. I know.
Um, but so moving on to Aziz Ojulari, where you got this man?
I have him in A. I love Aziz. He's the most complete edge in this class to me, easily. He does everything well. Not exceptional for everything, but everything at least well. Uh, Excellent body control and use of his hands. Great agility and speed. He does need some more bulk. He needs some NFL training regimen to bulk up. A lot of these guys need that, to be fair. So, not a huge concern for me. And then he has that clutch factor that not a lot of these other defensive ends have that you can already see. Now they may have it hidden away that they may be able to uncover when they get to the NFL level. But this guy in the big games always shows up. In the Peach Bowl, he had 3 sacks in the biggest game of his college career. In a game that many people thought he was going to opt out of, he decided to play, run it back with his teammates one more time, which most top prospects as of late have not been doing. They opt out of those last few games this season. He was out there going to war with his buddies, had 3 sacks, had the best game of his young career. I just see like this guy could be a cornerstone of my roster for the next decade or longer. He really has it for me. Um, if not for the strength issues, I would put him in S. But he's at the very, very top echelon of A for me. He's like S. If S was 100, he's like a 99.5 kind of thing, or 99.4.
Okay, okay.
But as far as comparisons for me, he's an even more complete Yannick Ngakoue to me. That's who he plays a
Okay.
lot like, and he's going to be an even better version. Uh, as far as landing spots for him, I had the Browns down until they snagged Jadeveon Clowney today. I was all on board with him going there and being opposite Myles Garrett, and they would have had the most fearsome edge rushing duo for the next 5, 6, 7 years, easily. Now, they should not preclude themselves from picking them in their first, because Clowney is on a 1-year deal. And it would not be the end of the world to have 3 excellent pass rushers and kick Clowney out the door next season. I would not be against that.
I mean, that's
Uh,
fair.
but another landing spot that I came up for him would be Arizona, since they did let Hassan Reddick leave.
That's fair. That's fair. Uh, I mean, yeah, that's pretty early in the first, but yeah, I mean, I could see it. I could see it. Um, I personally have him just right behind Jalen Phillips again, just because for me, I think Jalen Phillips' ceiling is so high that I would take the chance on him. But Aziz, you are correct. He is probably one of the most complete edge rushers in this class. He is so good and he's tenacious. I love that just like ferocity, the fierceness to just get through people. Now, like you said, he's not super strong, but he finds a way to slip through and just get by people and get to the quarterback, which is so fun and so it's it's amazing to watch. It is a thrill, and I can even see why people can get lost in that almost. And yeah, no, he's very 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 good. I mean, he did only run a four. He ran a 4.66 40. It's still good though. Like he has more bursty speed. I think he can
He
once he
plays
gets
faster than that. He plays way faster than that. The
exactly
early part of
exactly.
his 40 is the part that matters. And you watch his 40, he runs really fast at the beginning, then he tapers off at the end. But he
Yeah.
only needs to shoot 5-10 yards to the QB. So I'm not too worried about it.
No, exactly. Like if he was a linebacker prospect or a safety, I mean, yeah. But, exactly. He's a defensive end. He just needs that first 10, 15 yards. So, yeah, no, I really like him. I think he's a very good, and he'll be a very good pickup for somebody. I can see him. I think he will still be in, like, that Chicago Titans range, maybe even the Colts. I think that's basically the area where he'll probably land. I could see him going as early as the Cardinals. I can see them pulling the trigger, especially if somebody else pulls a trigger on this next guy that we're about to talk about beforehand in Gregory Rousseau. Um, this this man. So I think a lot of people kind of are. I mean, I know a lot of people are still high on him, which they should be. But there are also I've seen a lot of people not be so high on him. I have him in S. I have Gregory Rousseau in S. This man, he has such raw talent, rawness. Like the only year that we've seen him was his freshman year, was his very first year. He sat out this past year, but looking at him in his pro day, he still did great. Like I forgot how much he benched, but he still benched a lot, and he showed up and showed out. Like this man, he's got it, and I think that all he needs is in the right situation, he could probably be the best defensive end in this entire class. 100% easy. This man is a freak when it comes to that. He has such a high ceiling, and that's why. I mean, he also has monster hands. Like his hands were I think 11 inches, like monster size hands, and he's a big dude at 6'6", 266 pounds, can just bulldoze people. Like this man, I yeah, that I mean, I think he goes in the top half of the first. I If he falls to the Cardinals, holy shit. Sorry, but like man, yeah, I really like Gregory Rousseau. Whatever team gets him, please please treat him correctly. Treat this man right.
I also have him in S. He's ridiculous, okay? If he had played this season, I think we would be talking about him as a top 5, top 10 pick easy. The only reason he's not in that conversation is because there's that lack of experience. He has absolutely amazing size. Every game that he played in his freshman year, he was dominant as a freshman. You don't see that. I mean, he as a basically a high school player, he came up to the college level, dominated immediately. So I have no reason to expect any less when he gets to the NFL. He's going to do it again. He could be the game's next dominant edge rusher. Uh, Amazing flexibility. He can kick. He can kick inside and rush from inside from a defensive tackle in some schemes. He can also stand up and rush outside. So you can line him up anywhere you want on the weakest link on the O line, and
Oh
he's
no,
going to
very
bully the heck out of
versatile. Very very versatile.
him. He is so strong. He could have that elite bull rush. He doesn't yet, but I think with the right coaching, he gets there. The rest of the moves are all there. He's got the rip down. I mean, it's beautiful to watch him play. He reminds me a lot of Chandler Jones, and he can be an all-pro just like Chandler Jones. And I would love also to see him go to Arizona. Well, now whether or not he's sitting there, I don't know. Uh, some other landing spots for him.
Oh,
I wish. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry, continue. You wish.
That the Dolphins would consider picking him in the top 10. I really do. he would take that defense and turn them into a top 3 defense immediately. He deserves to go that high. Once again. Also, he could be sitting there with the Dolphins' second first-round pick. If he's sitting there by the time they get around, they should consider him with their first one. I get why they wouldn't if they go with like Kyle Pitts. I understand. If he's sitting there with their second first, they need to pull the trigger.
Oh, 100%. But what I was gonna say with the Cardinals, like I totally forgot about this. Gregory Rousseau being able to learn under J.J. Watt.
That would be something.
Holy.
J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones, and Gregory Rousseau on the same line. Game over for everyone else. Game over. Russell Wilson will re-demand a trade. He will re-demand a trade after he sees that pick go through. He goes, nope, I thought I could do it. Nope, never mind. Get me out of here.
He's like, no. Sorry. But yeah, no, as you all can tell, we are very high on this man. He's very, very, very good. Did you have a comparison
Chandler
for him?
Jones.
Oh, Chandler Jones. That's right. You said Chandler Jones. Yeah. No. Completely agreed. This man, he can definitely be the the best out of all of these. And for me, I think it's funny that in my opinion, the top two are both number 15s from Miami U. Like I don't know. I just think it's cool. Yeah. No. He's awesome. But moving on to Joe Tryon. Tryon. I don't.
Yeah, however you say his name.
JT.
Yes. I
Uh.
have him in B, the very top of B for me.
Okay.
He's great at either rushing with a hand in the dirt or standing up. Love the flexibility. I say that with a lot of these guys. That's really something I look for, because from the different perspectives of the different teams, what you want from an edge rusher is something that could play cross schemes. So if you fire your defensive coordinator after the season and you change schemes, you don't want him to become useless all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Love his athleticism and footwork, elite explosiveness, and he has really high upside to me. The thing that concerns me the most with him is he requires first move success. And what I mean with that is if his initial pass rushing move doesn't work, he's out of the play. He's done. He does. I don't know why. It's like he stops. He's like, oh, that didn't work. This play's over. That's not how it works at the next level. He succeeds a lot with his first move. Won't succeed as much at the next level, so he needs to learn. But with the right coaching, again, you can get there.
Oh, 100%.
And that leans into the needing better hand technique. When he's hand fighting, he's usually out of the play. He's done. So, as far as comparison for him, I see a lot of Zadarius Smith in him when I watch him play. And landing spots for him, I think he goes at the end of the first, beginning of the second. I have the Packers written down here, and also the Broncos, if he's still sitting there for the Broncos pick in the second round.
Okay, yeah. So I could see JT fall into the second round. So I understand why you have him in B, but I think he just edges, like, for me personally. I wanted to put him above Owe. But like you said, he has that technique consistency to get down. So that just makes it a little more sus for me, but I still think he belongs in A. I still think he is a very, very, very good prospect, and I think he will do very well for whatever team that picks him. And so I personally think if a team gets him in the second round, like mid second round, that's a steal. Like that would be straight up steal. I love this guy. He's very raw. He has good vision though, and he's also very athletic. Which again, all those things are just things that you can't teach. So if he gets that teaching, yeah, there's no reason why he can't be a fantastic edge rusher in this league. Period. Like he has some of the intangibles, like I said, that you can't teach. But moving on to Ronnie Perkins, what do you think of this guy?
He's one of my favorite guys in the draft that I'm watching. I have him in A. He may not be the most talented guy in this class, but he would be up there if not for his minor suspension where he was suspended for 6 games in college for marijuana. Uh, Not too concerned about it because Lincoln Riley endorsed him. I love Lincoln Riley. He stood behind him the whole time. The rules in the NFL are changing. He should be okay at the next level, but I understand the sus on him. If you remove that from the equation, uh, he's extremely talented. Now, just as much as he needs the discipline off the field, though, he needs discipline on the field. He often finds himself out of place. That is a knock on his game, I'll give him. But he's huge for an edge rusher, and he's incredibly agile at the same time. Lateral movement astounds me with him. Uh, I like him as a down rusher in a 4-3, and he can just as easily kick into DT. He may be playing DT at the next level. I could see that. Uh, as far as comparisons for him, I have Gerald McCoy down for him. He reminds me a lot of Gerald McCoy.
Okay.
And even though Gerald McCoy is a defensive lineman, I know that. That's just what I see in him.
No. 100. Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. And love his hands, love his club moves. His rip moves are beautiful. And then his snatch and go move is just, he throws the lineman and he yeets him into the next dimension. It's so fun to watch. As far as landing spots for him, I do think he has the potential to go in the first round. Now, whether he does, don't know. A lot of these guys are like that. They could fall in any range. Uh, Tampa Bay, I have him there where he could kick inside, replace. They've got a lot of guys on those short-term deals. JPP might be gone the next couple of years, and Ndamukong Suh might be gone in the next couple of years. They need somebody else, and their whole team's full, so they should just pick best player available. If he's the best player available there, why not pick him? And then if he lands to the second, I'd love to see him land with Dallas and replace that Tyron Crawford role and become a part of that D-line rotation.
No, 100%. I really like him. I mean, I have him right at the top of B personally. I do really like him, but like you said, he needs that discipline on the field. There are a lot of times where he is missing his assignment. But the things I will say that are very good about him is that he does also have good misdirection. Like he makes people trip up. He makes people miss their assignments on him, which is really nice to see. He's very tenacious. He wants to get there. He gets he he has that like no quit attitude kind of thing, like pushing through and finishing things once he gets there. But I do think he needs a little bit more, basically a little bit more football IQ, essentially a little bit more discipline, a little bit more of that. I like him a lot. Main reason why I also have him in B is because I have a very strong feeling that he goes in the second round. So I just feel like top of B. It's a very solid spot for him. I like him a lot. Like I said, I like this entire class a lot. So even when I put the person that I'm going to put at the lowest rung, it's not a knock on them. Like all of these people are great. I like all of these people. But moving on to Carlos Basham. Now this man is. You said Ronnie Perkins is huge. This man's 275 pounds huge. This guy is. This man is a truck. He is solid pass rusher. He is tenacious. But the thing is that he has a high floor, but not too sure how high his ceiling is, because it he does this weird thing where I feel like he tries to finesse too much as this big dude, and it's just like I get it, but at the same time, like, why don't you just use your weight and your power and your strength against them instead of trying to do this finesse thing that sometimes doesn't work because you're such a big dude. Like, I'm a little sus on that part, but he is a big dude and I like him a lot. But again, me personally, I'm going to put this guy in B as well, um, right behind Ronnie Perkins. Like I said, I like him a lot, but I do think that he has a lot of things that he needs to work on. And again, I don't know how high his ceiling is, but solid second round talent. He's definitely going to be a very good starter. Solid pickup for anyone who gets him in the second round, in my opinion.
Um, Carlos Basham. They call him Boogie. It's, I love that nickname. I don't know why. It just Boogie Basham. He's gonna
No,
do it.
it's great. It's great. It's great.
He's got a he's got elite power. I'm a little bit less sus of his technique. I will agree with you that he needs a bigger book that he uses from on his pass rushing moves, and it needs to be a different book than what he's doing. He does do the finesse, but I think that's because of his coaching more than anything. I think they drill it to him in practice. They're like, you need to do finesse. Next level, coaches are going to be better. They're going to see him and be like, throw that in the garbage. Forget you ever did that.
No,
Here's what you actually need to do.
It's 100%, and which is why it was no real knock on him, but it's just what I saw.
Yeah. He also has edge and interior rushing potential because he's so massive. You can kick him inside, and he's going to be just as fearsome. Uh, he never quits. He
No,
could
yes.
be 20 yards out of the play, and he will still be hustling down the field. Even if he doesn't make the play, he's down there.
No. He's still tracking the ball. He's still trying to do something.
So, some high school coach got a hold of him when he was in high school. It was like, you're gonna hustle, and they built that into him, and you can really see it, and I love it. Uh, I do think he's gonna go on the second. Could see him going as early as the first again. I have him in A. I forgot to say that, right above
Oh,
Ronnie Perkins. So
oh,
he's the
so
second
above
guy in A.
Perkins.
Yeah, right there.
Okay, okay.
Uh, as far as landing spots in the first round, could see him going with the Steelers. That would make a lot of sense. Uh, he just has that meanness that fits Pittsburgh. But if he does fall into the second, I don't want to be too much of a homer. I know I just picked the last guy to go to Dallas, but him playing opposite D-Law when D-Law is my comparison for him, as I forgot to say earlier, it's ooh.
That
You gotta.
I mean, if he does turn into another D law, having two D laws wouldn't be too shabby.
Nope.
No, that's awesome. No, and like I said, I like all of these dudes. I think all of these guys can be very fantastic starters for whatever team they go to. I don't see, and we're going to get to Quincy Roche. Spoiler: this guy is going to be my bottom of the B tier. Um, but I do think it was probably partially just because he was a little bit overshadowed by Gregory Rousseau and Jalen Phillips being on the same team. Like that's a little that's a lot. But he still proved that he is good on his own. He's very explosive. He lacks a little bit of the size at 243 pounds, so he needs to bulk up. But he is fast off the draw. Like his first step, like you were saying, like you're saying earlier about I forgot who you were talking about, but earlier when you were talking about first step, like he is fast off of that first step, and it is fun to watch. And he is great against the pass. Not so much against the run, which is another reason why I have him in B tier. I feel like he was a lot more solid against the pass, and he needs to learn a little bit more about the rush. But again, whatever team he goes to can probably easily teach him that. He's got the intangibles. He's so good. I like him a lot as well.
um, Quincy Roche. I have him in C, actually. Uh, I don't like him that much because of his size. He's got these short, stubby arms for a defensive end. I don't see him having much success with such short, stubby arms. And I think a lot of GMs are going to see that too, and a lot of scouts, and knock him down a few notches. Uh, he does have nice technique. I'll give him that. Powerful first step, powerful swim move. The other thing that kind of scares me is he plays really stiff for a defensive end. He doesn't have that bend and flexibility. And the bigger and with as a smaller guy, you have to have that if you're going to
Yeah.
succeed.
No,
So
that's fair.
bigger offensive tackles will shut him down at the next level. If he's on a monster at tackle, he's done. He's going to be ineffectual. Uh, as far as comparisons for him, I've actually Chase Winovich, who has been he was undersized coming in. He has been successful. So Roche can be successful like Winovich. Whether he ever does, I don't know, because usually they turn out to be failures. Uh, as far as landing spots for him, he's gonna go probably in the late second round to me. Uh, and I have Buffalo as a landing spot, and he might even fall all the way down to the third. His stock has been kind of trending downwards, and I could see him going even as far down as Detroit in the third round.
No, 100%. Like I said, I like him, but his size is definitely an issue, a very much of a question mark that teams are going to have to weigh whether or not they want to take the chance on that. But on a guy that I don't think you necessarily need to take a chance on, in Joseph Osai, I I really like this guy. I like this guy a lot. One thing, this is the guy that I will say that I don't think he's as much of a defensive end. I think he is a little bit more of a linebacker. He did line up as defensive end for UT this season though, which is the reason why we put him here. But I think he realized his full potential at linebacker, mostly because of his size, but also because of his athletic ability. He's so athletic. He can cover so much of the field. I have him in the middle of A. I have him right in between, right here. I think he is such a solid prospect. He's very versatile. Like he can line up in multiple spots. Like I said, I think he fits better as a linebacker, but he can also line up as a defensive end. He can do that, and he's great at creating separation between him and whatever person is trying to block him, whether that be a tight end or an offensive lineman. He's shown that he's a very good at creating that separation to get around them, to get through them, to get to the runner, to get to the QB. I like him a lot. I do think he goes in the first round. I think he'll go again. I mean, it's like that pick 20 to pick 28 ish, 29 ish uh, are like all. I feel like there's going to be a defensive run up in there, and I feel like he could go in there as well.
Well, here we go with the opposites. I have
Oh
him in
no.
C. He's my last guy to me. He's a guy without a home when I watch him. He's not great as an edge rusher. He's not great as a linebacker. He's just he exists. He offers cool flexibility. He can drop back, cover the pass. He can also edge rush at a decent level. He's going to be a nice depth player for somebody. He's not ever going to be a starter to me. Uh, he's very reactionary when you watch him as a rusher. He sits there and he waits for the play to develop, and that can be cool for the run defending game. But the pass game and those misdirections, they move very fast. And if you're sitting there and you're waiting, the play, he's in the end zone, and that's what I see with him.
I
It's
mean,
kind of scary. He does offer very powerful hands, very explosive player, and he does have a good motor. Uh, he needs to be allowed to grow as an edge, and then that's where you see in 3 to 4 years for me when he can really start to become a starting type player. Now, either grow him as an edge or grow him as a linebacker, or use him as depth. Don't make the poor man play
no,
and
don't
never know
no.
what he's going to be. Don't make him a defensive end one season, have him all there, then make him linebacker. That's how his career is going to get ruined. Uh, and because of this homeless mentality that I get with him, uh, he's a very low floor for me, and I could see him becoming a complete bust. He's the only edge in this class that I see that potential with. He reminds me a lot of Harold Landry when I watch him play. As far as landing spots for him, I do think he goes in the second. I don't think he's going to go on the first because teams value flexibility, but they value elite flexibility. He's average at both. Uh, and I see the Titans taking a look at him in the second round because of that flexibility, and then the Ravens who could offer him an actual home and edge and develop him and make him into something in the second round.
No, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it'd be better for him to go in the second round, 100%. I'm just saying I can see a team, especially with I've seen some people be very high on Osai that I think I could see him going in the first, just because I've seen some people be very high on him, because of the like the things I was saying. I think he is very athletic. He's like again like for the reasons why I said. I'm not going to reiterate what I said. Y'all just heard it. But that is going to be our defensive end tier list. Let's move on to the safeties. Uh,
Our linebackers. Moving on to linebackers.
I don't know why I said safeties.
It's all good. Safeties is next week,
Yeah,
along with the
safeties
corners.
are next week. I don't know why I was thinking safeties, but yeah, we're moving on to linebackers, and I mean, let's just start off with the Micah Parsons. Joel, spoiler alert, I know Joel isn't super high on Micah, so where you got him? Where you got Micah?
I got him in B for athleticism alone. That is the only reason he's in B. He doesn't have the head of a football player. It's like he doesn't know what he's doing. Like he's never played before. When you watch him, it's his athleticism is out of this world, and he can make up for those just lack of football IQ, and it masks it. That's not going to happen so much when everybody else is elite athletes too at the next level. Uh, he's got just such poor instincts and play recognition. Misdirections fool him every time. Doesn't track with audibles real well, and he projects best as like a inside middle type linebacker. And he's not going to be able to lead a defense with a head on his shoulders like that. He's not going to be able to be the field general opposite the QB. So that's scary to me. If I was to take him, I'd have to put him at weak side so that he's not having to do that. And he could become something as that if somebody else is leading where he's not having to read, he's getting told what to do, and he really develops with next level coaching. I could see that. Um, and also, he needs to be more aggressive. And this could come from him not really knowing what's going on some plays, but he sits there and he's like, okay, what's going on for a few seconds, and then blazing speed, and he goes and makes the flashy tackle. So I like that. He's a good tackler and stuff, but it's just
See,
there's
I
not the
think,
instincts aren't there.
I mean,
uh, I wouldn't touch him personally in the first round. Very obviously, he's going in the first round because I think Lee is going to salivate over his athleticism a little bit more than me. But I would rather have a smart linebacker than an athletic linebacker every day of the week. Uh, if we can fix those head issues with him, he could become a Bobby Wagner. He has that type of ceiling. He does. I will give him that. But more realistically, I see like a Gerard Davis. And I don't like picking a Gerard Davis in the first round. Uh, as far as landing spots for him, I think Minnesota is going to take a long, hard look at him, and so is Arizona. And I think that's probably a good landing spot for him right there around pick 15, a little bit forward, a little bit before, a little bit after. Uh, and the reason I picked the Cardinals also is they just have a propensity for drafting defensive freaks. They've been doing this for all of ever. Uh, and yeah, I have him in B. So you can go
no,
ahead
yeah,
and hate on my prediction now.
no, I'm not gonna hate on it. All I will say is that, I mean, he is. I want. He was only a sophomore, and from watching the tape that I saw, he improved in both of the years throughout the years. He got better, and he got better with his technique. He got a little bit better with his knowledge and his football IQ. I think in the right spot, I think he can get to that elite level because I think he needs a real teacher to teach him how to do it in the NFL, or maybe teach him in a different way. Maybe just the way that people are explaining things to him just haven't really been sinking into his brain, and maybe somebody else, in the professional level who are more professional. Like, I mean, not to hate on the NCAA, but the NFL has better resources. They have better trainers, better teachers, better coaches. So for me, yes, I am going to put him in S because of his freakish athletic ability. I mean, he is a monster when it comes to his athletic abilities. And so I do think that if somebody can get through to him, and I do truly believe if somebody can just get through to him, they can have something special in this guy. This guy can be special, which is the reason why I do think you take a chance on this guy Especially like I mean, every team has to feel like they can develop anybody, right? So like for me, trying to get into the shoes of a GM, like he has all of these intangibles that I can't physically teach, but the football IQ, I he just needs to learn the plays more, the plays better. All right, like cool. You're training instead of doing yeah, an entire day of workouts. You're gonna do half day workouts and half day film, like constantly. And I feel like if somebody does that, they can get the best out of this guy. Now, I don't think he's the best person in this draft. There is going to be some people ahead of him, but I really like these linebackers. I think there are some really great linebackers out there because, um, I mean, we move on to Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa. I sorry, I butchered the hell out of that name. I'm gonna say JOK. Joker.
Koromoa, to me, he's very easily the best linebacker in this class. He's an S. He's a smaller backer. That's the only knock I can put on his game. And as of late, we've seen a lot of small back like linebackers come into the league and be successful. That didn't used to be the case. You used to need to be built like Brian Urlacher and Ray Lewis. We don't see that anymore. And his athleticism makes up for it. He's absolutely impactful as a defender, and he just screams next star linebacker to me. Just if you pick him, this guys are going to start buying his jerseys. He's going to be leading the defense. He can be a team cornerstone. Uh, Great versatility. He can play any of the linebacker spots, middle linebacker, and either weak side or strong side. Does project best for a 4-3 scheme, and he could. When I watch him play, he could even play some hybrid safety to me with how small and fast he is. Like for one of the comparisons I put for him, Keanu Neal, the Dallas just picked up. He can play both. Well, he's going to be mostly linebacker, where Keanu Neal was mostly safety, but he can do both. If he does stay at linebacker, I could see him becoming a Roquan Smith type player with his size and just potential to just take over. Um, his super high IQ can can rush on occasion, pass defend, run defend. He does it all at an elite level. Um, and just his diagnosing ability. I didn't see him get fooled one time on tape. Not once.
No, 100%. One like a couple things that I had written down is so he is fast enough and quick enough to cover wide receivers and running backs, but he has the reach slash just like his tenacity with his hits because he puts his whole body into his hits. He accelerates before tackling, so he hits like a truck. So he can even take down tight ends. Like he can basically cover anybody in the slot, like anybody there. Like the man is so athletic. He's great at lowering his shoulders to get into those tackles as well, and has just great technique at wrapping people up. And like you said about sorry, I can't remember names, but like you said about somebody about one of the defensive ends, he doesn't stop either. He keeps going. He keeps going after the ball wherever that ball is. And he has the speed to get to them wherever they are, like out of nowhere. And it is fun to watch. So yeah, no, I have him top of S. He is the best linebacker in this class in my opinion. Easy, done deal. But another dude that is pretty freaking good as well is Zaven Collins. Now, Zaven Collins, I personally also have him in S tier. I have him right in between Micah Parsons and JOK, Jeremiah. Um, I love Zaven Collins. He has fantastic instincts. He is fast for his size, and he's got that bursty speed, like we said before. Like yeah, as a linebacker, you want more, duration with like the 40-yard dash, but like I mean, he can line up more as like a front linebacker and be, close enough to the line where he really only needs that bursty speed. And he is so explosive and powerful. Like and he has great vision. He can read the plays, he can dissect the offensive plays very easily in my opinion.
Zaven Collins, I have him in A. I also love him. He is the second best linebacker in this class. He too has a high IQ, like the guy I just talked about. But where he's different is he's a big dude, throwback size as a linebacker to me. And every once in a while you'll see the throwback guy where I saw talked about the trends. We're going smaller. Leighton Vander Esch is my comparison for him. Just a big, massive guy. Uh, Versatile player. He's good slash great in most aspects of his game, but not elite to me. He's a little lumbering in his play style for me because he's so big. Uh, but the cool thing with him is he has like rushing potential. He can get after the QB, which that's fun for me. In a 4-3 scheme with a linebacker who can come up on some blitz plays, he can even do some stand-up edge rushing, and that's pretty fun. It, as far as landing spots for him, I put in the first round either the Patriots because he looks like a Bill Belichick guy to me, or the Titans. I know you don't like the Titans pick.
No, yeah, I mean, but I get it. I it would be a great pickup for the Titans. It really would. I get it. They need defensive talent, and yeah, this would be a very great pickup for him, or for them. But moving on to Jabril Cox, where you got Jabril?
I have him in B, also ahead of Micah Parsons. Um, there is a minor hamstring suspicion with him. He's had some issues with it before, which is why I knocked him down there. But take that out of it. Athletic and disciplined, elite in pass coverage, rarely caught off guard. But when he is, he's got this elite change of direction speed. The play starts going the opposite way. It's like he wasn't even caught off guard, which may
Mm-hmm.
make it so it seems like he's less of the time caught off guard because he catches up so well. Uh, Issue with him that I have is he's not very strong. He's blocked easily. When the O linemen get to him at the second level, they can take him out of the play. He's relatively raw as far as his build goes and his physical skills. His tackling needs some work and technique. That can also be fixed with coaching, so not a huge thing for me. He needs a year or two to develop. He's a developmental type guy. Uh, but he has the head on his shoulders, which is why I put him ahead of Parsons. And you'll see this as a trend with me.
Yeah.
Uh, he also has pass rushing potential. So with that kind of thing, he reminds me a little bit of C.J. Mosley, who used to play for the Ravens and is now with New York, and maybe even like a Darius Leonard type to me. As far as landing spots for him, I do think he's going to go in the second round, and I'm looking at Atlanta as a spot for him at the beginning of the second. If he falls astronomically further, I could see Washington picking him up, and that would be kind of scary having play for the Washington football team. But I don't think he's going to fall that far.
No. Um. So for Jabril Cox, I have him in A. I will say right now he is solid A. He is not going to be the top of A for me. Um, but he is a very solid dude. Yeah, I believe he's fantastic versus the run. I do feel like he has pass rusher upsides, but I think he needs to get a little bit better about basically about reading that and about figuring out where to go to get to the quarterback during pass rushes. But during the run plays I was seeing him go up against, he was very good at just clogging up the middle and making sure the running back had nowhere to go. He was very good against the run. He has solid tackles and he does have some great hands for when he does step back in that pass rush and he's not one of the ones rushing. He can pick up that ball pretty nicely. It was very fun to watch him do that, where just a couple of times he would read what the quarterback's doing and just step back and then pick off the ball was very, very fun to watch. Um, but moving on to Jamin Davis. Now, for me, he's in the top of A for me. I really like Jamin Davis. If I could just get. There we go. Okay. I really like Jamin Davis. So he ran a 4.3740. Holy smokes, that's fast. That is pretty fast. And he is great at shedding blocks, like just like blockers that are like trying to get him. He's great at just going through, going around, making them miss. Insane, and he finishes tackles. I love seeing that. I love seeing the finishing of that because in the NFL you're going to have running backs and wide receivers and even quarterbacks who are good at slipping through people's hands, who are good at making people, like, even when you get a hand on them, it's still making you miss by spinning or by just being slippery themselves. But he is so good at finishing. I really like seeing that. He is pretty raw, but I love his ceiling. I think he has great talent upside. Again, a lot of things where like the intangibles, he's got them, so you don't need to teach that. Just teach him some other things, and he could, like I said, going off to the races with this guy. I think he is very good. Like I said, he's in the top of the A for me. I think he goes probably in the middle of the first round, maybe later first round. Again, if there's going to be that run on defensive talent between 20 and 27, I think that could be a spot where he would land.
Uh, Jamin Davis for me, he's in B. I have him in the top of B, but he's basically equal with Jabril Cox to me. It's a matter of personal preference. I prefer run defending linebackers to pass defending linebackers, and that's where he excels. But if you're the other way around, you can flip them. They're on top of each other. Uh, he burst onto the scene last year. Was not good previously. He was a depth backer, and his coach talked about that for him, about how much of a work ethic he has, and just that desire to succeed. And it took him that long to develop mentally, all that stuff, and then he just everything clicked, and there he was. So that's a minor sus on, like, that's a good thing, but it's
Yeah.
also a minor sus because there's only one good season of tape. The rest of the time he's a nobody. So which one are you gonna get? Uh, but for positives for him, it amazes me how easily he gets around blocks. Lee talked about that. It's ridiculous. It's like the lineman comes and then poof, he's around him. And the lineman's, where'd he go? He's great. He's great speed, like you talked about. Great pro day where he put on an absolute show. Had a 42-inch vertical. You don't see that from linebackers. He's a freak. He might be more freakish than Micah Parsons to me. It's pretty close. Uh, he needs work in pass coverage. His eliteness comes from run defending, but that will get there. If he does continue to develop like he did last year, where he just burst on, he could be a star. But I see more of an Alex Anzalone type player when I watch him play. As far as where I think he's going to go, I think he's going to go in the latter half of the second round because of how long it took him to develop into a player. So I have the Chiefs written down here. They need linebackers like nobody's business, and they need defensive help like nobody's business. This would be a nice pickup for them to replace Anthony Hitchens. And then if he falls into the third round, then it's open season on him. Anybody could take him because in the third round, you're no longer drafting for need usually. But I have somewhere like Dallas taking him where he can be a nice fourth linebacker and develop into something. And he
Okay.
also offers special team prowess.
No, that's fair. That's fair. No. I like I said, I really like Jamin Davis. But moving on to another guy that I really like, Chaz Surratt. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name.
I
Um,
think that's right.
I he Now I think this is going to be another dude where Joel is going to say that he has ridiculously high IQ because he used to be a QB. He knows offenses. He knows how to read offenses. I really like him. He is very productive and has strong instincts. I think he's very instinctive player. Again, coming from that quarterback uh, uh, position, he can read an offense and understands how the offense is operating, so he can allow his instincts to just kind of take over because he already can kind of be in the head of the quarterback. So for me, Chaz Surratt is going to be an A tier for me. Going to be right in between, right there. I like him a lot. I like him a lot.
Uh, Chaz Surratt, like you said, I am ridiculously high on his IQ. I like I said earlier, I prefer a heady linebacker. He's got it. He's got an amazing head on his shoulders. One coach described him as having a photographic memory for play design. He sees it once, you fool him once, never gonna happen again. So he's got limited experience, obviously, just switched over to linebacker. So that's a negative. But he's got that close to unlimited upside with him. You can take him, and he could continue to soar and take off and become a star linebacker. So that's really fun for me to see. Uh, what else did I have? Oh, he did another cool thing with him. You don't usually see quarterbacks be able to switch over to linebacker. You see quarterbacks transition seamlessly into being a wide receiver or being a running back. But he switched just right over to linebacker, and he was successful, and he was strong and big and good. He even showed the ability to pass rush. He had 6.5 sacks. Quarterback just turns into a pass rusher now.
Becomes his own worst enemy.
Comes his own nightmare. Yeah, and the fun thing for him is he was a decent enough QB. Maybe he can become like your third string QB for fun. You know, like if you have, because like we saw last year with the Broncos, you run out of QBs all of a sudden. There he goes. There he is, Chaz Surratt, your linebacker. He's playing QB now. So that's another fun thing to have. It's always good to have those guys with that in their background where you can just throw them out there, and it's like yes. So that's not a huge aspect to me, but it's just fun when I
But
thought of it.
no. It's a cool thing to think about.
He's
Do where do you have him ranked
I
though?
have him in B. I do have him behind Micah Parsons because of that limited experience. That is a little bit scary. And he is a quarterback, so at the next level with NFL quarterbacks, maybe his IQ is no longer quite as good. He understood the college game really well, so it's there's a lot of unknown with him. His floor is very low, ceiling very high. Uh, he is a surprisingly excellent tackler. He needs to get his weight and bulk up because he's a former QB. He needs to bulk up. And I did see a report on him that he struggles with keeping his weight up, that he's a naturally smaller guy and he has to fight to keep his weight up. So in the next level with a regiment, you know, with the NFL coaches, training staff, he can do it, but that's always going to be a fight for him. Uh, he needs to also fight back better against blocks. He's overwhelmed too easily. That also can come with time. Not super sus of it. If he continues on his trajectory, I see a Navarro Bowman. That is a high comparison, but his game just reminds me of that when I watch him. I do think he's going to go in the third round. I think the Rams are going to take a look at him in the third round. I also think Dallas will take a look at him in the first round, not just because he's one of my favorite prospects, but Dallas needs somebody to replace Sean Lee. Needs a heady linebacker. He can become that. Uh, Earliest I see him going is the second round, the very end of the second round to the Chiefs. Like I was talking about earlier, they need somebody to replace Anthony Hitchens, and I think he can pretty effectively do that.
No, 100%. Um, but let's move on to a guy who is about actually, funnily enough, about the same size as Chaz Surratt in Nick Bolton. But it's another guy that I'm also pretty high on, even for his size. I think he is very good. I have him right behind Jamin Davis for me in A. I like Nick Bolton a lot. He's very quick. He's very powerful tackles, like I was saying, like with the uh, JOK, where like accelerating before the tackle to get even more like power behind it, even if you're a smaller dude. Like he's got that, and he's very good against running backs and tight ends in the passing game, and he's great at diagnosing plays. So again, another that high football IQ. I think he can be a very good pickup for somebody. I mean, maybe now, for me, I think a lot of these linebackers for me in this A tier are really like a toss up whether they're going to go in the first or the second round. Like what Joel was saying earlier with Davis versus Cox, it's almost kind of like a lot of these guys. It's like, what does a team want
Looking for.
more? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I could see him going in that 20 to 28 range in the first, or I could see him going mid to late in the second. But I think whatever team that grabs him is going to be getting a very, very good linebacker with a lot of upsides.
Yeah. Nick Bolton for me is an A. I have him as my second player in A. I'm all aboard the Nick Bolton hype train. He's kind of come on here as of late. During the last season, he was like a third, fourth round prospect, and then just all of a sudden his stock started climbing up. I only saw his name actually fairly recently. I wasn't even watching him back then, so I only know that because I read about him. Uh, he's extremely underrated, but once again, there's a hype train growing. Uh, he's very tough and rugged, traditional inside linebacker with high IQ, easily diagnoses plays. He probably dreams about plays at night, and that's how easily he diagnoses it. Uh, he's The other cool thing about him is that he's dominant on special teams. He in the early part of his career didn't play so much as a linebacker, was more of a special teams player. And there's a lot of coaches that would love to grab that in the second round as a guy that's going to immediately contribute, not for you on as a starter, but on special teams. Um, and the other thing when I watch him, every time he hits you, it's like he's trying to send a message. You just see it. He just throws his heart and his soul and tries to eat you alive. It I love watching it. There was a couple of his tackles where I just rewound it and I watched it again, and then I watched it again, and then I watched it again, and then I watched it again. Like it's crazy. He's also a great leader. Teammates talk very highly about him. Coaches talk highly about him. He can take over, lead a defense, become that guy. Reminds me of Sean Lee when I watch him play. I watched Sean Lee as one of my favorite players growing up, and he leadership, all the intangibles, it's all there. As far as landing spots for him, I do think he has managed to climb his stock into the first round, and that's a far hike. So it could just as easily he go in the second. So once again, all over the place where he's going to go. Landing spots for him, I think he would fit very well with Washington or the Raiders with his meanness. He fits the overall vibe of those two organizations and cultures, especially with the Raiders. He could be a Gruden guy.
Gruden grinder. You call him a Gruden grinder? No,
Oh man.
I completely agree with that. Um, but yeah, so moving on to a guy who I know Joel is pretty high on in Dylan Moses. So I will let you take the floor first on this guy.
Right. Dylan Moses, if not for that freaking injury, I would have him in S. I have been watching him for a very, very, very long time. There was sometimes on Madden's where I created him years ago and I played as Dylan Moses in my franchise. I am a huge fan of him. Because of that injury, I have to put him in B. He's the second to last player in B. But like Lee was talking about earlier, it's not any particular knock for me to put them in B. All of these guys I like, except for Micah Parsons. I don't like him. The rest of these guys, I'll love them. Uh, he was once again before that injury, surefire like top 10 pick. He had that potential, and who he kind of reminds me of is like a Jalen Smith or a Miles Jack. With that injury that kind of derailed them, lowered their stock, and then he can have a similar career reemergence. The cool thing about watching him last year, he was very slow at the beginning, not very good. And as the year progressed, his play progressed, and you started to see flashes of his old self. If he can reclaim his old self and somebody gets that, they just got the steal of the entire draft. Uh, um, he has a great work ethic, mentality. A lot of people call it the Mamba mentality coming back from his injury. It's fun. He's a fun player. Uh, he plays sideline to sideline when you watch him. Great tackler, not easily fooled. Needs to gain his speed and agility back, like I was talking about. It started coming back. Will it ever come back fully? Even if he reaches 80%, that's a solid starting linebacker to me, and that's what's so cool about him. Uh, And because of that, this is the one scare. Because of that lack of agility and speed, where sometimes it was like you could see it, his head and his body. It wanted to go, but it couldn't do it. And because his mind thinks that he can, he often found himself out of position. Now, will that go away and he adjusts? We'll see. So that's the major sus with him. As far as landing spots for him, I do think because of his injury, he will go in the second round. And I see him landing with either the Patriots or the Lions.
No, yeah, both those spots, especially like the Lions, like I've been saying previously, they need to get some more of these like developmental guys where they can just take a couple years to develop them, not play them as much and see where they go, and then in a couple years once they're done rebuilding, have those developed guys that were developmental when they first got them. I have him in B as well. Again, only because of the injury. I like him a lot. I do think he has great instincts and he can cover a lot of area. But like Joel said, that injury, I mean, it derailed him pretty hardcore, which is one of the main reasons why I'm so sus of this. Not saying that I'm very sus of it, but why I'm more sus of it than like other injuries from other players is that it did derail his career pretty hardcore in college. Um, but also, like Joel said, he did do a very good job of progressing throughout the season this past season. So showing that he's already capable of continued growth, I don't see why he doesn't continue it. Now, again, like, does he get back to that 100%? That's just going to have to come with time. But I do think that a team that gets him in the second round, it's going to be a very, very good pickup for whatever team that gets him. I think all of these dudes can be good starters, just like the defensive end class. I I like these defensive end and these linebackers. I know kind of towards the beginning of the offseason, there was a lot of people saying that this defensive end and linebacker class was bad, but I'm like,
I don't see
no,
it.
no,
I don't
no.
see it. This
They're
is a good class. I
no,
like it a lot.
yeah. I mean, what, eight linebackers and nine defensive end, where the ninth one can be either or, and all of them possibly being great starters.
This is a quality class.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what they do at the next level.
Me too. I hope nothing but the best for all of these people, but we do have to wrap up this video. So let's get on to talking about the NFC and the AFC West. So we are going to start off with the NFC West. Now, um, going into the NFC West, we're going to talk about the Rams first. Now, that Stafford Goff trade, I do think was a very good trade for them. It was only because both teams had a different mindset. Rams are definitely in this win now mindset. And because of that, Stafford was probably one of the best people to grab. Now, a lot of other things, like losing Troy Hill, John Johnson.
That was an oof. That's gonna hurt next year. We're gonna see a gaping hole where John Johnson was. That defense is gonna take 4 steps back.
Yeah,
It's not
and
gonna be pretty.
and the team that got him, the Browns, are just
Gonna take an
continuing
equal
to
four
stack
steps
that
forward.
defense. They're like, yeah. So
Yeah.
I
No, and they
I
also
I
had
am
to. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say I am sus of the Rams right now. I get they're in a win now mentality, but like, I mean, we've said this before in a couple episodes. I feel like there's going to be an implosion, and a really bad one, where like 90% of the team just leaves, is just gone
We're
after
already
like,
seeing the cracks. John Johnson is one of the first. Them having to trade Michael Brockers, who is a valuable contributor, for pennies, a 7th-round pick. We're seeing the cracks form in this team, and it's as far as their outside stuff. They brought in Stafford. Sure, good job. He's a clear upgrade over Jared Goff. The price that they paid made it so that this is the team. This is it. It's gonna fall apart in a year or two, and then they're going to be god awful, and it's going to be very bad. The only other like outside signing of note that they did was bringing in Deshaun Jackson, who hasn't been a player for I don't know what 5, 6, 7 years. I was never a fan of Deshaun Jackson personally. I mean that may be because he smoked the Cowboys a few too many times,
I
but
mean, yeah, I was about to say, as not a Cowboys fan, I always liked Deshaun Jackson, but you are right. He's up there in the years, and he also hasn't been in the league for quite a few years.
no, he's been
How
in the
good?
league just on the
Oh,
IR.
sorry. I mean, like, sorry. It's like the phrasing, but like
Yeah.
it's like he hasn't been in the league because I haven't seen him on the field. Um, but yeah, like, so I don't know how good of a pickup that was. I mean, yeah. So
I'm not real high on the Rams off season. Not real high on
no,
it. They
and
may
they
they may
also don't
look
have a first round pick to help.
for this year, next year, or the year after. Now, it's we
Yeah,
may
like
see them be
2024.
incredibly successful next year. We may see them succeed and be wonderful, and it'd be great. Maybe even make it to the Super Bowl, maybe win, all that stuff, and then it's gonna fall apart. So they better hope they do good this year. They
Yeah,
better hope and pray that they do good this year, because if not, Les Snead's
I
head is
I
going to be on the chopping block, and so is
I
Sean McVay's right next to him.
I do think that this is their last year before the implosion to really get that Super Bowl. Because even if they don't implode in 2022, a lot more people are going to leave, and they're not going to have a chance in 2022. But moving on to the San Francisco 49ers, unfortunately, another team I'm very sus of. Like, that trade to get the third overall pick. Let me. I've gotten into some debates on people on Twitter and in real life, and I want to just I want to make this very 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 clear. Trading two first round picks for anybody is a lot. And you're telling me you're going to do this for a prospect, not even a guaranteed dude? Like I'd be sus if
It's
like
scary.
I'd be sus of this even if they did this to get Justin Fields. Like even if they get Justin Fields, yes, that's the person they should get. But like, what did you give up to get him? Like
And they're
like
probably going to pick Mr. Dadbot over there and Mac Jones, and it's going to go real bad. Real bad. If you're a 49ers fan and you're justifying picking Mac Jones over Justin Fields or Trey Lance even, what
well,
you're over justifying at this point. It's it's not going to be the 49ers. They ruined their future. Me and Lee used to be very high on where the 49ers were headed when they used to be in the Watson race before the Watson allegations, and we're like, this team could be, the next dynasty, and they done screwed it up.
I will say I personally think Mac Jones is better than Trey Lance. But I feel like there's an argument there is an argument to be made between which one is better. But there is no argument that Justin Fields is better than both of those guys. Like that shouldn't be an argument, guys. That shouldn't. There is no way that Justin Fields should not be the third QB picked in this draft. There is no reason. Without that regression, he's possibly, now I don't want to say fighting Trevor Lawrence for number one, but fighting Trevor Lawrence for possibly the for best prospect going in and most likely to have a better career because he was just so on fire in 2019. He was so great, and then he had those couple of injuries that kind of shook him off this past year, which that is sus. I know you have to play through injuries. I know people play through injuries all the time. Um, but like he's so good, and look at him in his pro days. He's been electrifying. And if the 49ers pick Mac Jones, even if Mac Jones succeeds, it's still going to be a bust because I don't see how Justin Fields doesn't succeed.
And even say Justin Fields doesn't succeed, Mac Jones, if he succeeds, is he going to succeed to the level of being worth 2 firsts and additional resources? Because if I'm not mistaken, they shipped out a third also or something
Yes.
like that.
Yes, it was 2 firsts and a
It's
third. Yeah. No, yeah,
scary.
I really don't like where the 49ers are heading. I mean, Kyle Shanahan is a guru. People tout his brain, but like I don't
Don't get
know.
it.
And then Richard Sherman's probably leaving. They
They
gave
did lose Solomon Thomas. They lost Kendrick Bourne. It's
they gave their
they're
tackle
not
that
they're
huge contract for 6 years.
and they gave a literal fullback real money. I mean, I get Juszczyk as a fan favorite and the best fullback in the league. He's not he's not worth 24 million that they gave him or whatever that was. I was like, this isn't 1980. Why are we paying fullbacks this much money? This no John Lynch. No, no.
No, 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 no.
You're gonna
Um,
pay this man over Richard Sherman and Kendrick Bourne and Solomon Thomas. You're gonna pay him over. You're gonna pay a fullback over those actual contributors. And I don't like Kendrick Bourne that much, but he's a contributor. He's a starting receiver. You're gonna pay a fullback over a starting receiver, a starting corner, a starting defensive end.
no,
No.
yeah, yeah. I don't like those moves at all. And then moving on to a team that we aren't sus of in the NFC West and the Arizona Cardinals. They've had a fantastic offseason. They've gotten J.J. Watt and A.J. Green, and they traded Rodney Hudson and a seventh for a third round pick.
That I can't believe they snagged Rodney Hudson. That is how did they get Rodney Hudson? How for that's pennies too. Rodney Hudson is a top tier offensive lineman to me. I get he's aging. I get he's past his prime. All this stuff. He's
But
definitely
he's
worth a
still
third round pick.
good.
He's gonna shore up the offensive line. Kyler Murray, when Kyler Murray's protected and gets to do his little run around and little midget stuff, it's Arizona hums. Arizona is going to take over this division, and the next, they may not do it this year. They may miss the playoffs again this year. Cliff Kingsbury may have to go by the wayside, but they've built this core, and they are going to be kings of the NFC West very shortly. So Arizona, just bide your time. Your time's coming. Finally, you had to deal with all those dark years. It's coming. It's coming because
No.
Seattle, who we're going to get into in a minute, falling off already. Everybody knows that. Then, like we talked about the Rams, they're going to implode shortly. San Francisco just did a brain dead move. Arizona, this is your time. You can do it.
Yeah, no, no, Arizona, like you can take over. You can take over this division easily in a year or two. And especially with like you just said, getting into the Seattle Seahawks, all of the things that they've been doing. Like Russell Wilson wants to leave because he can't be protected because he's one of the most sacked quarterbacks since he's been in the league.
The most sacked quarterback since he's been in the league.
Yeah,
The,
sorry.
not
Yeah,
one
yeah,
of.
yeah. By a large margin too. I think it was like by like 40 sacks or something like that. Like
They
how
brought
do
in
you let
Gabe Jackson to fix that as their only offensive line move, really, of note. They brought in Gabe Jackson to appease Russell Wilson. They better draft all of their picks offensive linemen at this point. Why would you please appease Russell Wilson? Don't trigger him. Don't send him away. He is the face of Seattle, and that he might leave is just how did you screw up that bad, Seattle? How did you do that?
no 100%.
And they also lost extreme contributors with Shaquem Griffin and Jaron Reed, and KJ Wright is likely leaving now. Those are three quality defensive starters. Their defense already wasn't great. Them bringing in Jamal Adams is widely being touted as a bust. I like Jamal Adams a lot. I'm not all aboard the bust train with that. It was a bad trade for where they were as an organization.
No 100%.
And
Yeah.
this this might be Pete Carroll's last year,
It could be.
and
It very well could be.
it's an end of an era for Seattle, it appears.
All right, guys. Sorry about that. My camera for some reason was just bugging out or something. It got all foggy, and I heard most of what Joel said, but I was like focusing on trying to fix my camera. But okay. Moving on though. Talking a little bit more about the Seahawks before moving on. Just yeah, like I don't understand their offensive line moves. I don't understand them letting a lot of these defensive players go. It like it's very weird, and it definitely feels like this is the last year for Russell Wilson to be there in Seattle, and I don't think they're going to do much. If they make the playoffs, they're going to have a first round exit just like last year. Like, I'm sorry, but Seahawks fans, like, the future is not bright, and I really only have yourselves to blame. But
They had 10 years. They had the second best dynasty for the last 10 years, the Patriots. So it was worth something. It's
yeah,
time for you guys to be bad. It's
yep,
time. It's the cycle of life.
no, it is. But moving on to the AFC West, starting off with the supposed big dogs of the AFC West in the Kansas City Chiefs. But Joel and I are also a little. I mean, obviously they're still going to be fantastic. Like I'm not going to immediately take them out of like playoff and Super Bowl run talk yet. But they need to find tackles. They've been signing offensive linemen, but they've been signing guards and centers. They haven't been signing any tackles, and the two tackles are the reasons why they lost the Super Bowl, and they let go of their two tackles. Like,
Just because they were hurt. I mean, I get the salary cap. On paper, makes sense. Logistically, doesn't make so much sense. And then
yeah, I don't know why you
you
don't.
now have the big money, and you go get a guard with Joe Thuney.
Yeah,
Why is that a move? They also lost Sammy Watkins and Damian Wilson, two major contributors. Sammy Watkins, they can replace. Damian Wilson's going to be a little bit harder. And you got back yet another person who's a top talent, Jaron Reed. But did he fill a position of need? No. You still got needed linebacker and you still got needed tackles. Why are you allocating your money like this?
no,
So
it's very weird. And on top of that, like you said, they signed Joe Thuney as a guard. Like,
he's a great guard. He's
no,
great. He's
he
going to be
is.
great for them. But it wasn't a need. Use that money to go after someone else, a tackle, or get 5 tackles for the price of Joe Thuney. I know that you don't need 5 tackles, but I'm like,
But
guys,
still, like, yeah, like,
guys, why?
yeah, you need at least one each on either side, and you probably want to get at least a backup that could play either side. So you want to sign like three tackles, and they haven't signed a single one.
I
Like,
mean, Mike Rimmers can play a little bit of tackle, but it's unless Joe Thuney's all of a sudden going to kick outside. Maybe it's a master plan by Andy Reid. Maybe
I mean,
it's
maybe
secret
I
sauce.
don't want to complete again. Like I said, we're not completely ruling them out. It's just like this is so weird. And then moving on into the next team, if this team figures out quarterback situation, they could easily take over now in the Denver Broncos. What?
This is
What?
this is Denver's time to shine. They did everything right this offseason, with the exception of getting a quarterback, but that can still be fixed on draft day. Justin Fields, as we talked about earlier, could be available at 4.
I I I I I think that the Broncos almost need to find a way to get Justin Fields
Whether at
because
4 or 7, they can get to either one pretty easily. They've got some decent draft day picks, and they don't really have many other glaring holes. They retained everybody. They got back Justin Simmons, got back Von Miller, got back Shelby Harris and Kareem Jackson. Masterful cap management, because they didn't have a ton. They had good, not a ton.
yeah.
And then they still managed to bring in guys like Kyle Fuller and Ronald Darby. That's
And
one of
Kyle
the best
Fuller
off
is a
seasons.
fantastic pickup.
The only move that I disagree with is letting Philip Lindsay go. I did not like that. They're high on Melvin Gordon for some unknown reason. I don't get it. I'm not a Melvin Gordon fan. it's painful for me to watch him play for whatever reason. He's not very good, but uh, you can fix that in the third, fourth, fifth round. Go sign another running back and be set. I mean, there's still decent veteran running backs on the market too. They can fix that problem with ease. And then if they get Justin Fields at quarterback, we could be talking about Denver in January as a Super Bowl contender.
100%, and if not this January, the next.
Oh
If
yeah.
not 2022 January, 2023 January. Like, the Broncos are set up to take over the AFC West. They really are. And another young team in the AFC West, in the Chargers, can also maybe start making a splash at things because they've been doing some very good things as well. Getting Corey Linsley from the Packers to really beef up that offensive line to protect Herbert. Uh,
I love that signing.
yeah,
Love it.
again, some other teams, learn from this, aka the Bengals, in protecting your young quarterback. Like, protect the man, protect him, and that's what they're gonna try and do. And it's working out very well for them. Uh, I mean, they did lose, Henry and Perryman, but they can replace them.
They already replaced Hunter Henry with Jared Cook.
Oh, I
And
mean, that's
honestly,
fair. Yeah.
for the price that Hunter Henry got from the Patriots, I'm all over that. I Bye, I'll pack your bags for you. I did not want that. We'll take the third round compensatory pick. They'll be fine. They're a young team. They're not expected to contend next year or even the year after. Letting that expensive talent go and not weighting your roster with these expensive veterans, it was wise. And I do think they should probably let Melvin Ingram go, as painful as that's going to be, and let Casey Hayward walk. Finish your rebuild. You're headed places. Bringing Corey Linsley, this was the right time for a big move like that with your money. Let those expensive veterans walk, draft well, and they can get up there.
No, 100%. I think the future can be bright for the Chargers. I think they need to really hit on this draft, and they really need to hit, in next year's free agency as well / next year's draft to really start making a big splash in the AFC West. Because right now, yeah, the two teams on top of them are the Broncos and the Chiefs, and it's going to be kind of hard for them in their current state to compete with those two teams. But I could see maybe in the near future them competing. Like, it could happen. Herbert is amazing. And if they really put a team around him, they can do some really great things. And now for the team, in my opinion, that is the most sus in the AFC West, in the Raiders. The Gruden Grinders. Um,
What are they doing? Their whole O line is gone. There's been reports of them being cash poor and stuff, which may mean Davis needs to sell the team for the sake. And the Las Vegas Raiders, I think you said Oakland and I think I wrote it wrong on the outline. That's on me.
oh, I
Uh,
mean,
Las Vegas Raiders.
I,
The move
I, I
came at
still
a
I
bad
still
time for
say
them.
Oakland. I still say Oakland too. Like,
Yeah, no, it's fine. I screwed up. I wrote it wrong. I mean, big. What are they doing with their O line? They traded away Gabe Jackson for nothing. Traded away Rodney Hudson for nothing. Traded away Trent Brown. For all three of those quality offensive line starters, they got back a third and 2/5. And who did they replace them with? Nick Martin, a average at best center. And you look at Derek Carr and you say, "This is what we have given you. Succeed." No, it's
I mean,
not gonna go well.
I liked Martin when he was on the Texans, but yeah, he
He's
isn't.
fine.
Yeah, I know he's a fine center, but you can't blow up your entire O line and then look at Nick Martin going, "Oh, you're the answer." Like,
Yeah, poor Nick Martin, poor guy.
no,
And
yeah, like,
they chose to throw all of the money that they saved from getting rid of those three guys at Colton Miller, who might have been the least of those four guys. That's where they decided to allocate the resources. And then they brought in, Yannick Ngakoue, a guy who struggled to live up to his potential. Brought in Solomon Thomas, another struggler. Same with John Brown and Willie Snead. There's something something stinks over there, and it may be Gruden's career. Could
No,
be
and
could be on
another
its last legs.
and another player that I like in Willie Snead, but again, yeah, like he's not an answer. Like um yeah, like yeah, the Raiders. I don't. And I do think it probably does come down to those reports about Davis just not having the money anymore. He like yeah, sure you could have the cap space, but he physically doesn't have the money to pay people.
With those large salaries and stuff, where it's out of his pocketbook, so to speak. I know it's not actually, but like he needs to sell. He's not involved in any other businesses. He's been running on Pop's money this whole time, and he needs to
And I think
say
the move to
adios and
Las
get out of
Vegas
there.
also hurt them.
I like a team being in Las Vegas. It was not the right move for the Raiders,
No,
and I don't. I get that they hated their stadium is crap. Okay, I will give them that. Fix it. Oakland was a good city, good market. You had good things going for you, and you blew up something that wasn't an issue.
no, 100%. But that is going to be our wrap ups of the NFC West and the AFC West, and that is also going to conclude our wrap ups of all of the teams. We have now talked about every single team in the NFL and our thoughts and our opinions of them going into the draft. Now, we will also do an extensive look into each of the teams after the draft, grading their full offseason, really diving and delving in to each of the teams and seeing, and by the end of it all, we're going to rank them. So that should be a lot of fun. Please come join us for that. I think there's going to be some very, very good conversations to be had about some of these teams, especially depending on how their drafts go. Because these drafts can really make or break some of these teams. But like I said, that is going to be it for now. I am Lee.
And I'm Joel, and come back next week for cornerbacks and safeties. It's gonna be fun.
No, oh yeah, cornerbacks and safeties are going to be a lot of fun. But this is Two Nerd Sports, and sayonara. We are peacing out. Have a wonderful have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you next week.